So, hello there, my name is Chris Palmer, and in today's CTR Manipulation video, I'd like to share with you what works, what doesn't, and why. So I want to take you through this step by step, starting with what is going to be what works. So let's come on over here. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get directly into the video, and I want to put in, well, what does work, Chris? So what I have found is, one is multiple PCs. That will absolutely work, regardless if it's going to be yourself, whether it's going to be different PCs that you create, virtual or not. Multiple actual PCs work. And of course, that makes sense. Now let's keep going on. Now, two, multiple actual mobile devices. This 100% works. So multiple mobile devices. All right, this 100% works. The reason being is we have multiple unique identifiers, and what you're going to find is this pattern is going to keep on going. Number three is we have multiple unique custom emulators. All right, so these are the three things that absolutely work. Now, what I want to talk about next is going to be bots. All right, now I've tried every single bot known to man, and there's different capabilities that they'll have. Now, a lot of times these bots are going to have the capability for WPGL spoofing. They're going to have location spoofing. You're going to be able to pick longitudes, latitudes. You're able to do all of the spoofing mechanisms. So that's a good thing. And it can be very helpful for some platforms. Now, with that being said, one of the things that we ran into with issues is always proxy. All right. Now, the proxy, also known as the IP address, there's multiple different types. Now, back in the beginning of time when we were playing around with sending traffic, sending clicks, different types of bots, just by sending multiple clicks and traffic on a bot on your own system, same IP over and over, this was effective. As time progressed on and on, what we came to find out is that, okay, this is no longer effective. What we started doing and what started working even more efficiently was utilizing reverse back connect residential IPs. This was also very effective. Now let's talk about these different types of IPs. So the IP addresses go like this. We're going to do 1A, and this is going to be IPv4. All right, so IPv4 in just regular terms is going to be your data center proxy. All right, these are data center proxies. Google is well aware of these particular class blocks of IPs that are going to be allocated to a data center. Very, very well known. Now, number two is we have our IPv6. Now, IPv6 are these very cheap, inexpensive proxies that are generated and created by the tens of thousands. The blocks are a lot larger, and these types of proxies are even cheaper to create. You can go and get these for a penny a pop, 2 pennies a pop, 10 cents a pop. They are dirt cheap. IPv4 proxies, private or shared, they go anywhere between 50 cents to $1, $2 a piece, and maybe even higher. Now, as time progressed, we had multiple different. We had residential rotating, right? 4, you had your residential back connect. Okay, these were a little bit cleaner. These were private. You can utilize them. I mean, there's also VPNs. There's VPNs to varying degrees. And then we get to our mobile. Now, mobile proxies are absolutely by far some of the very best proxies that you can potentially buy. Now, the reason being for this is because what you'll find is they utilize something called CGNAT. Now, this particular type of proxy and this type of protocol is going to allow multiple users to use the same public IP address. So often misconstrued is, hey, and even myself, like, not that I misconstrued, because I always completely understood that even though a lot of people are on there, they can't just shut this proxy off, but it's still going to be revealing our private and, more importantly, our MAC address. So mobile proxies are absolutely the best because of this particular type of protocol. However, with that said, if we go out into the world and we start reading some patents that Google is updating consistently, persistently updating, and these patents are not written to protect their ranking algorithms, but more importantly, they want to validate the quality of the user on the other end for their ad platform. Now, with that being said, let's come back to what does not work. Now, if we've established that this works, all right, and we understand why, all right, it's because these have unique identifiers. So if I'm able to create multiple PC instances that have all unique identifiers, if knowing that, okay, if I'm using a mobile proxy that others could potentially be using, but and Google's well aware of this, and they need to verify and validate that traffic. They're going to go back to the private, which is connected to a router, which is connected to your computer. Period, end. So to validate and to verify that this traffic is authentic for their platforms, which is why they're saying this, then they need to go all the way back to understand, okay, this is an actual person, this is the computer that it's going to. Plus, for data protocol, just in order to know to send the data to that computer, they need to have the MAC address. So if we know this, then we have to start thinking to ourselves, if we have a tool or something that does not work, all right, now we're going to get back to bots, all right, we can see temporary gains depending on the platform. We could see temporary gains depending on the pooling. And what I mean by pooling is at the creation of a tool, all right, there could be a set of particular devices that are contained within this software, all right? There could be. We don't know. There's also an instance that could potentially make a tool auto-create these instances. However, this would be very, very difficult to create MAC addresses on the fly at scale, especially if we were trying to inflate, let's say, YouTube views, where we need high amounts very quickly all at once. So with that being said, after understanding how a mobile proxy works, after understanding what CGNAP is, and I'm giving you these things so you can read and you can understand. After reading through different patents, maybe perhaps this one amongst many others that are consistently being updated, and they keep on adding not only extensions and updates, but they're adding citations and they're adding in other pieces of the patent. Like they're adding in other stuff, ways that they're able to analyze this and get even more data so they can protect their ad platform. So if we know this, then we know that we need so let's take this a little bit further. All right, let's keep going here. So if we know that we need, let's go back over here. I hope this makes sense to you guys. If we know that we need these couple things, we know that we need to have, let's go ahead and write this out. Let me write these out instead. We know that, and there's also patents on this, like, hey, if you go out looking, like check this out. Like go here, watch this. So see how I'm doing this? Reading MAC address. Here, watch. Google LLC patent. Here's another one. So you put in Google LLC patent, then you do this. Proximity, right? And then we're gonna do MAC, okay? And then they have patents on that. Go and read that for you local guys. It'll really open your eyes up to a lot of things, okay? So these are some of the searches and how you want to find this stuff, all right? So again, we understand how the proxies work. We know that they're going back to the MAC address, all right? Now let's get back into here. So we know that, all right, what matters to signify as a user? So it's device location, all right? There is the public IP, okay? There is the private IP, okay? And then there's the MAC address, all right? Amongst some other things. So if we have a tool, all right, let's talk about this now. If we have a tool, it is going to be quite simple and easy and effective to take care of the device location. So we have that. Excellent. The device location, not a problem. That's easily spoofable. We're also going to have our public IP, where we know if we come up here to the top, I want to share this with you. If we come up here to the top, we know that, okay, well, we can't use IPv4, Chris, because these are data center, and we know that the blocks of IPs have already been allocated. They already know that those are data center proxies. IPv6 are lower quality. They're easily blocked. They're mass scale. And remember, an IPv6 might have a very long string, but the beginning numbers are going to be the same. The end numbers, they'll create thousands and thousands of these. I'm explaining this the simplest way possible. So it's still the same IP, really, at the end of the day. They just create a crap ton of variations of them. So that's no good. So then we're like, okay, well, residential rotating, these are expensive, but there's still a limited pool. And then we go to the back connect. Again, the same thing, limited pool, and they're still able to track it back to the MAC address. My thing's falling, that's okay. Now let's keep going here. Let me hang this back up here. I'm hoping this is making sense to you and what I'm getting at. All right, I just don't want you guys spinning your wheels. So we know that, okay, this is going to go back to, right, regardless of the proxy, it's always going to end up here to this MAC address, to the unique identifier, all right? And the reason why they're doing that is to protect their ad platform. No matter what, they're going to be able to get to this. Now, we'll have these providers, and they'll say, okay, well, the mobile IPs are great. They're using CGNAT. They can't just shut off that proxy, and that's true. That is 100% true, but because Google is trying to protect their ad platform, they're going back and they're reading the MAC address. So unless you're able to create, right, we're going to have the public, that's fine, we can recreate that. The private IP, okay, we can get past that, but no matter what, unless we have unique MAC addresses, unique devices, regardless, if it's flipping, if it's going to be a PC, if it's going to be a mobile device, or it's going to be a custom emulator, unless we can create these unique devices on the fly, or on the fly retain all of those details, especially if I have 100 guys on the platform, let's just say it's 50 guys. They all have their own searches. They all have their own volume. They're all using their own proxies. How am I able to create on the fly and retain all of that data all at once for the MAC address to create that persona? How? You can't. This is what I'm getting at. So, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I was asked multiple times, Chris, can you explain this to me? Does this work? Should I be using this? What do you think? What's your opinion? Do I think that temporarily this could be potentially effective, or perhaps there could potentially be a way that for a short period of time it's great? Sure, but in order for it to work, it has to fill that void and do exactly what I just said. It needs to be able to create unique addresses while implementing the unique IP. So each time I have an IP, I need to have a corresponding device, a MAC address on top of that. If I need the MAC, I need the IP. Those need to be unique each time, and then I need to retain those details, the persona details on top of that. I hope this makes sense to you. And that's all for today. So my name is Chris Palmer. If you have any further questions related to CTR, bots, manipulation, pretty much anything SEO, digital marketing, Facebook ads, Google ads, it really doesn't matter. Always feel free, go ahead and ask me in the comments below, and I most certainly look forward to seeing you in the next CTR Manipulation, click-through rate manipulation video. Have a wonderful day. I hope the second time I explained it a little better. I feel